Let's talk Tanya for the 13th of Tamuz of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, we explained that teshuvah and fasting are not the same thing. The essence of teshuvah does not include fasting at all, although we said that sometimes there is a reason to fast if there's a fear that there is some sort of harsh heavenly decree, so a fast can cause that decree to be nullified. In today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe is going to give us another reason for fasting, and to understand this, first let's talk about human relationships. So let's say one party offends another in a serious way. So let's say the offending party apologizes, asks for forgiveness, and the other side, the victim, agrees to forgive the offending party. But at the same time, would you say that the relationship has been restored to the way it was in the beginning? Would you say that the offender is now in the good graces of the person he or she victimized? The answer probably is no. For that, it requires an extra effort. The offender might considering getting a gift for the victim in order to really restore the relationship and to regain that person's goodwill. The same thing is in terms of our relationship with God. And back in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, this is why when a person sinned, they would bring two sacrifices. The first sacrifice was called achatas, which was for the sin, and that secured the forgiveness. But then the person would bring a oila sacrifice, which is another sacrifice, and the purpose of that was it was a gift to God to be restored to God's good graces. Today we don't have a holy temple. We don't have the korbanos. We don't have the sacrifices. So tshuva is instead of the korban chatas, instead of the first korban, the first sacrifice, the one that secures the forgiveness, today tshuva alone is enough for that. However, in order to be able to be in God's good graces once again and have our relationship with God restored as it was before we sinned, for that, instead of a korban oila, what we do is we fast. Because the concept of a sacrifice is we take the fats and the blood of the animal and that goes on the altar. So here also when a person fasts, what happens? They're losing some fat. They're losing some blood. They're sacrificing some of their fat and blood. That is a gift to God, and that's what brings the relationship back to the way it was beforehand. This is why in the Talmud we find quite often many of the great sages of the Talmud that they would fast multiple times, even over very minor indiscretions. Again, this is not tshuva. Tshuva itself is the resolve never to sin again, but it is the gift that one gives to God afterwards to be restored in God's good graces. This is why, if we look in the books of the Kabbalists, also in the early books of Musar, we find over there, and the Arizal spoke about, he actually identified the appropriate amount of times a person should fast for particular sins. And Dr. Rebbe gives a few examples over here in the chapter. One example he gives is that if a person gets angry, so a person should fast, take a guess how many times? 151 times, 151 days to fast for an incident of anger. I think that knowing how much you'd have to fast would probably help people control their emotions and not get angry. So this is another purpose of fasting. Again, it's not tshuva, but it's another purpose of fasting. And now the next question we have is, okay, what if I got angry 5 times? Do I have to fast 151 times? Do I have to fast 151 times 5? And the answer to that question, we will find out, God willing, in tomorrow's Tanya.